Productive people, we are standing on the shoulders of giants when it comes to the productivity ecosystem. There's enough information out there right now that you can get to work and actually start being productive instead of watching videos like this. No, I'm just kidding. Watch this video, please. Actually, like it and subscribe while you're here. But after you're done with this video, hopefully you can move forward and you can focus on your goals and you can focus on that one big thing that you kind of dream of and that you have in mind. Because we live this one big life and it's not so big. It actually doesn't last all that long. So we only have a limited amount of time to get things done and to organize ourselves and orient ourselves towards our biggest goals. So it's my biggest goal right now to start making more videos like this. They can help you out and they can help people like you out who are big thinkers, innovators, students, professionals, entrepreneurs, whatever it might be. I want to help you focus on your one big thing and make an impact on the world. That's how I'm going to make my impact on the world. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Let's talk about what PARA and GTD are. So PARA is a methodology. It stands for projects, areas, resources, and archives. In case you aren't familiar, it was created by Tiago Forte, and Tiago Forte is a very wise dude. He's been in the info space for a little while now. He's been selling courses in the productivity space, and I love all of his frameworks. He's a beloved name in the productivity world. So projects stand for tasks or things that you want to do, basically actions or tasks. These are anything that you can actually write out and you can see that it's a task. So for instance, if my task is film this video, I would have to write film the video for GTD plus PARA Notion system or something like that. The title of your project should be written in such a way that it's action oriented, as opposed to just writing something like GTD plus PARA video. If I just wrote GTD plus PARA video, I might know what it means, but that's more of a resource. And we'll talk about that in a moment, which is something that he also has in PARA. The next thing down the line is A, which is areas. Now, areas, these are the goals in your life, the big picture things that you organize your projects and resources in. So think of it as just different buckets that you can click into and different worlds that you can click into within your life. Now, I'm under the personal belief that it's better to have fewer areas, and it's good to be able to track these and see where you're spending the most time on any given time frame. So you want to look at it on monthly, quarterly, yearly. You can do that with my system that I'm going to show you today. So we've done P, projects, A, areas. Now resources, R, that's the next one. And resources are notes, SOPs, different material that basically can aid you in completing your projects and can be useful reference material to come back to in a sense. So that's what a resource is. So Tiago has separated out the tasks from the resources, and this is a very important part. He's also bucketed them into areas. Now, what is the final A in PARA? That's archive. So archive is basically like a trash bin that you throw everything in that you're not using anymore, but this is like a magical trash bin that allows you to actually access those items through search and through different routines that I've actually built into this system. So if you don't want to see all this information, all of these old tasks, even the new tasks in the future, you only really want to be able to see like what you have to do today. For instance, there's a few other things you might want to see. You might want to see your tasks on a calendar so you can plan. And I've built my whole system around routines and filtering that just helps you see what you want to see for that particular action or that particular routine that you're taking. For example, I have a routine for when you want to focus. This is a routine where I just put your tasks in front of you for today, priority ordered, and that is the best way that I've found. It's simple, I know, but it's the best way I've found to focus. Just have that window open there. It's just a simple task list. But there's also routines for planning, which allow different calendar views where you can drag your tasks around in unique ways. You can view your tasks on a calendar, on a monthly, weekly, and even a daily time blocking view. So that's PARA. So it's safe to say that Tiago's building a second brain and PARA method have really brought to light some concepts that I thought were very interesting. So that's Tiago Forte's PARA method. Now, what is GTD by David Allen? GTD stands for getting things done, and the acronym that I actually prefer to use is CPU, not computer processing unit, but capture, process, and utilize. That's basically the focus focus of GTD. It's to capture, process, and utilize information in a cleaner way. And that's my sort of paraphrased version of GTD. But capture basically just means being able to quickly, easily capture fleeting thoughts that come into your head. Or you might want to capture something when you're at, say, a networking event or on a Zoom call and you want to schedule the next meeting with someone. It should be one click, and then from there you should be able to just type a quick title and then just close it and forget about it until the next step, which is process. So at the process level, you're going to start looking at everything that you captured throughout the day and everything that you completed. Within process, you're also planning and moving things around, reordering, and I just make this a daily sort of 10-minute ritual where I go into my system, I process everything, I move things around on the calendar so that my priorities are load balanced and I'm ready for the next day, and then I shut things down and go to bed. So processing and planning, they're kind of like a dual purpose for the P. And finally, U. This stands for utilize. Everything in this system, to put it very plainly, is quite utilitarian. Yes, there are some aesthetic choices when it comes to your cover photos. You can change your icons, you can move things around if you would like, and that's the beauty of Notion. But out of the box, you're going to get a utility-focused workspace. So I've talked a little bit about Tiago Forte's para method. I've talked about David Allen's getting things done. And now we're going to dive into this template. If you're interested in purchasing this template, for you guys, I'm going to be giving a $50 off discount code. And this is unheard of. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that it's very rare that I run discounts, but I'm starting a discount code on this because I really want to push to 1,000 members. Like I said, right now, 750 plus people have purchased the template. So we're well on our way to that mark, but I really just want to expand the community and expand this vision. So if you want to join us, hop in. You can use the link below at any point in this video if this template looks interesting to you. If the template is out of your budget, then I recommend watching through this video, taking notes on the different concepts that I cover, and then learning a little bit about Notion every single day from my 100+ video playlist with free Notion content right here on YouTube. I'll add that as a card right now so that you can open that link in a new tab and you can check those out later. Now let's dive into the latest version 3.1 of the Productive Brain. This has been about a year of working on this template and iterating it, and I'm just so amazed with the community we've grown and what we've built. So let's dive in. Welcome to Productive Brain 3.1. The first section that we're going to look at is my capture section right here. And it's comprised of some buttons. And all of these buttons basically do the same thing. They just add a new task to tasks if it's the task button, and it opens said page in a side peek window. So if I hit task, it's going to open up my task in a side peek, and it's also going to allow me to enter some information about said task. So I can change the name of my task very quickly here in a GTD-like fashion. I might just want to enter the name and not fill out all of this information right now. So if I wanted to film this video, I might write film, and I could just put GTD plus para video. Okay, and that is the proper way to enter a task that comes to mind. If you have any notes on it, you can enter them down here, and you can use Notion's built-in subtasks, or you can just use the simpler version of subtasks, which is just these brackets right here. You can just do open and close bracket and then space, and it will create a checkbox that you can check. So basically what I would do here is I could write intro, outro, and I could write everything in between. And then as I'm completing these, I can check them off here. Now let's go ahead and close this and refocus on our capture module here. So if I click on resource, it's actually going to open up a new note. So this has by default add notes, and it shows you how to use the bullet list hierarchy within Notion. So there's some example content in here that you can utilize if you would like, but basically it works the same. You can just change the name right here. So let's just change the name of this note to script for, and then I could type in the para plus GTD video. So you notice how when I entered the task, it was film this video, and for the resource, it's a description of what it is. So it's a script for the para plus GTD video. And I've included some keywords in here: GTD, para, video, script. These are all things that I might search in the future if I'm looking for this note. And then I can just enter my script here if I would like to. So I could actually write out the intro, and I could even ask AI here in Notion, to improve my writing, or I could ask it to write something altogether. I could just say, write an intro on para and GTD methodologies for a YouTube video. And this is going to give me a very brief overview, but I think that overall it might give you some ideas, whether you're a student, professional, or anyone looking to enhance your productivity. Para plus GTD can provide, this is great stuff, right? So that's a good little intro there. And then I could move on to my body, but that's not what this is about right now. This is about the capture module, so I won't get too in depth on that. Next, we have goal. So if a goal comes to mind or a new notebook that you need to create comes to mind, these are your different sub areas within the system. So the goal essentially creates a goal, and this can be related to a task. A notebook creates a notebook, and that can be related to resource. So I just hit goal. Let's go ahead and type in a goal. So let's say get to 100K subscribers on YouTube is my goal. And I can set a duration for that goal. I can set a lot of these things up, but I'll set that up later down the line, later on in the system. This is just about capturing. So this goal comes to mind, I might write it down and capture it that way. And same goes with notebook. So if a new notebook or a new resource folder that I need to create comes to mind, I could do it here. So I could just create scripts, and then that could be a resource folder essentially, or a notebook for all of my video scripts. Let's close that. And finally, we have area. So area, you're going to be using area, notebook, and goal pretty seldom actually, because you're not really supposed to be quick capturing all of these things. These things should be things that come to light over time. They're not really fleeting thoughts like tasks and resources can be, but I've included these here just so that they're quick and easy to add. But an area is a container for your notebooks and your goals, while your goals are a container for tasks and your notebook is a container for resources. So play that back if you didn't get what I said there. But basically, it's a hierarchy. It's a system where all of the areas have notebooks and goals underneath them, and those notebooks and goals have tasks and resources underneath them. And we can see where we're making an impact based on the area of our life that has activities going on inside the system. So if I hit area here, it'll create a new area. And the best way to actually enter a new area is just to use one word that describes that area of your life. You might be able to use two. This could be a company that you're focusing on. If you're really invested in a client and you don't want to make just goals around the client, you could make a whole area for that client and then have goals and notebooks underneath it, or maybe like a specific class that you're focusing on. But typically areas are more like pillar things in your life, right? Because the whole point of this is to see where your time is going. So I might write productive dude actually as an area, because that's the YouTube channel here. So that way, if I have multiple goals and notebooks within productive dude, I can store them all in this area. So I'm going to close that now. And that's how the quick capture module works. It's just a very quick and easy one click. We have a new task. I give it a name, something like walk the dog, right? I could even set some information in here if I want to, maybe reminder, and then I could close it and it'll be in my system. Now you might be thinking, I'm not seeing it in your system, Carter. I'm not seeing it anywhere. I'm just seeing these tasks in the forefront. And that's because the capture module is not meant for things that are happening today. Usually these are things that just need to be planned, or you need to remember later on down the line in a different routine that you're currently in. And this is just here as a crutch in a sense to help your mind stay on track and check things off of that, and basically just check off all your distractions by writing them down. What's really important though is what you need to be doing today. And I have a 3-tier priority system here that basically helps organize these things into a nice list. So if I wanted to film a bunch of videos, I could basically just organize them into a list like this, and it has these different priority levels that you can choose from. So we have Pri 1, Pri 2, Pri 3, and there's also some special priority levels that get ranked above all else, and that is meeting and reminder. Now, if you want to add a new task that's just for today, in a sense, and you don't want to hit new task for the overall system, you can always hit the new button right here, and that basically adds a new task for you. So I can just give it a name, film GTD plus para Notion template video, and it starts as an idea in your focus here. And this just helps us be more accurate with our processing to see what has really gotten reviewed and what's really gotten added to our intentions. But if I know what I want to do with this, I can move it to a higher level priority and I could move something else to a lower level priority. Now, you see this problem arise where you have 2 priority 3s, right? The idea behind having 3 priorities is that this is really the max that you want to focus on for a day, in my humble opinion. So that is what I put in here. That's just what I've seen has worked best. You can't really focus on more than 3 things in a day. And if you have meetings or little quick things that you need to do, you can mark them as either a meeting or a reminder. For instance, if I need to do something menial, but I do want to remember it, like walk the dog, I can put that on there and then I can set it as a reminder. And now it's a reminder for today, and it's just like at the top of my list. I could also just duplicate this if I have another similar sort of errand that I want to add, and I could just do something like buy milk before tomorrow, and I could quickly just like set the due date for today, so it's before tomorrow. And now I've got these 2 reminders that get kind of pinned at the top. Now, I'm also going to add a meeting. Like, let's say somebody hit me up and they wanted to do a meeting later today, right? So I'm just going to say meet with Kevin. All right, meet with Kevin. I'm going to make that a meeting, and boom, meeting is at the very top of the priority list. And the reason for meeting being this high on the priority list is because it is always going to have a time preference above all other things. So if you're meeting with someone or you're going to an actual event, get it marked as a meeting. If it's like a set time that you need to be somewhere, it's a meeting and it's on top of the focus priorities. And this will help the system sort itself out a lot better if you put your meetings and your events and your set time things in as meetings. Taking this a step further, we have the action date. And right now, I'm not utilizing any time on these action dates, but if you click into them, you can include time. And if you had a meeting, let's say, you could change this to like 5 p.m. And if you want, you can even include an end time. So let's just go with 6 p.m. So 5 to 6 p.m. We have that meeting. And aside from sorting by focus, it's going to sort by action date as the next condition down. But these things are the main priority. So these can stay on today. Now, the next column over is due date. The difference between action date and due date is action date is based on whatever today is. So, or whatever day you want to complete the action. So that's what's pulling these in. The action date matches today. Now, the due date doesn't have anything to do with what's showing up inside of this today view. But if it's past due, you can switch over to the past due tab and you'll see everything past due here. So if something was in the past, so let's just go say we forgot to walk the dog for a really long time, that would show up here in past due, right? So that's how that works. I can move it back to the future, and it never removed it from today because the action date was always the 22nd, which is the day I'm filming this video. So that's the today tab. And within this tasks component, we also have that past due one that I showed you, and we have all active as well. Now, all active is just going to show you every task in the system that isn't marked as complete. So if this got marked as complete, unplanned, delegated, or archived, for instance, any of these sort of complete variations. And I do go over these in the course for the paid members of this template that purchase it. But basically, if you hit complete, that's just the basic one, it makes that disappear. So if you remember right, I'll just hit Control Z. We had meet with Kevin. I hit complete and it disappears from our list altogether. It disappears from any of these lists. If I completed this, it would get or if I completed this, it would disappear. And it's basically just going to hide anything that I've completed from the system. So there's a lot of influence from things like GTD and Para here when it comes to what we're seeing and what's important. But I applied it not only to like archived tasks, I also combined it with different routines that you might want to live out within this system. So we're going to talk about those next. These routines are probably the most powerful and pinnacle things about this template that set it apart from the rest, in my opinion. And the fact that I'm saying that live is probably going to embolden my competitors, and they're probably going to copy my features, because the truth is, with a Notion template, you know, if you click around enough, it's pretty easy. But like I said, this is the thing that I really think set this template apart, and what really made people realize the power of thinking in first principles when it comes to making a template, thinking about how I can actually make it useful to people. I'm not going to talk about habits today. We also have a habit system that is within the productive brain, and metrics. So you can track different things for your workouts, different things for different checkbox habits, like did I work out today or did I sleep 8 hours? Whereas metrics are like, how many hours did I sleep? I slept 7.5 hours, right? So you can track those different things. You can also track your highs and lows, sort of like a bullet journal of your day, things you're grateful for, things that didn't go so well that you want to improve on. And we have our resources down here. Adding a new resource, pretty simple. Right now it's on pinned resources by default, but if I go to recent, you'll notice that we have that script for Para plus GTD video that I added using the quick capture module earlier. So let's gravitate back over to the sidebar here. I'm just going to briefly touch on databases and widgets before we dive into routines. So this is just how I like to organize my Notion systems. I like to put all the databases in one little submenu so that everybody is on the same page with what the main database is and what you can and cannot delete. So I think of these as like the core components or the core engine of the overall template. So these are more for like development needs if you want to go into these databases. Some people like to make their own views and just put them in here. But what I prefer doing is just like looking at what database I want to access and then just creating a call out in Notion. And from there, you can just drag it into place. You can go with a different icon and you can just create that based on any of these databases. So if I wanted to see resources that are pinned, I could just type in whatever title I want there. And if you want, you can bold it so that it shows up a little better. And down here below, we're just gonna click / and type in linked, and I see linked view of database. From there, I can click, and it's very simple to just see that we have the resources database from our databases list up top, and I can click on it, and at first, it's gonna show me all my stuff, right? But I can very quickly eliminate this all down and get it to just be the resources that are pinned so that it's a useful component for the system, right? So I'm going to hide everything very quickly here. And I'm actually going to change the layout to a gallery. And I'm going to go ahead and hide the database title. And then I need to open up my properties because I actually need the pin and I need the pindicator. Okay. And the pindicator, I'm going to drag up to the top there. And now if I hit pin, it's functional. But the only issue is it's showing me all the resources, even if it's unpinned. This says resources that are pinned, right? By the way, let's drag that into that call out there. Let's add a divider here. And if it pops out like that, just drag it in there. And so this is great, right? And it's mostly working, but now the filtering isn't working properly. So we can see the task up here. It's dynamically updating with our other views. But the thing is, it's not giving us the right information here. So we just want to see pinned, right? This is on recent up here. I know we already have a pinned view, by the way, but recent. So if I just wanted to see what was pinned, like this says here, then I could go to the filter and I could go to pindicator and contains, and I could paste in that little pin emoji. Okay, so if it contains that, then it will show up. Now let's unpin it. And what do you know? It's not here. It's that simple to quickly just add a little component like that. And it's based on the core engine of the databases here. So that's how adaptive this system is. And that's what I really like about it, right? So the beautiful thing about this is I can just delete this now and it's gone, but I didn't delete my whole database, right? Resources are still here. My resource itself is still here. I just deleted that view or that instance of the database. And by the way, if you accidentally delete something, just hit Control-Z, you can bring it right back. Okay, I'm going to delete it though. So that's databases. That's how you can utilize the different databases once you learn a bit about Notion. Next, we have widgets. Snoozed tasks are things that I want to get done eventually and I want to save, but it's kind of like a temporary archive. So it's kind of like a back burner, if you will. I can snooze a task by just changing its status to snoozed, and then it's going to disappear from everywhere in the system. So it's not cluttering things up, right? And it's going to show up in snoozed. Later in this video, I'll talk more about how you can utilize this snoozed view and bring things back in when you're ready to focus on them. The next one is tasks. So if I click on tasks, it's going to give me all of the different task views from our homepage. So that's a way that I can quickly get that. And capture is just all of the capture buttons. So the reason that I have these out in their own separate widgets is because there's actually a way to use your iPhone, or I believe the Android devices have it as well. And you can put a Notion widget on your home screen and you can actually click on it and have it take you to a specific page. So I like to have my tasks and my capture as Notion widgets right here on my phone. So if I'm ever walking through the store and I have a fleeting thought, I can jot down my resource or jot down my task and I can handle it later. Now let's dive into those routines. The first routine is called focus. If I click on focus, it's just going to give me our tasks for the day. And I know this seems a bit simplistic, but it should be. Your focus page shouldn't have much more than a way to capture your mind when it goes off track and when you really get anxious and you need to remember something, but also just your list of tasks for today by default. You can also see past due and all active, but I recommend just staying on today if you're in the focus mode. And if you want, you can even delete these right here and it won't harm anything if you delete them. So I'll actually just delete them to show you. Delete view. And now it's just whatever the focus is for today. So I can change my priorities here and I can mark things as complete as they get moved along and they'll disappear from this list. So focus is a pretty simple routine, but process is one of the more intricate systems that I've built. And it is very useful for putting everything in the system where it needs to go. So if I scroll down here, you'll notice I have all of these tasks in my process system right now. And what does it say here? It says needs info. So I've got this smart logic built into the system that tells me exactly what these tasks need to get moved out of the process section. Think of your process section as an email inbox. Every single day you get emails, and at the end of the day, ideally you should go through and you should filter through them and you should make sure that you're good on your obligations. The ones that don't matter you can delete or archive, and the ones that need more information or context, you have to basically just spend a little bit of time giving that context. So that's what you can think of this system as. It's a bit of an inbox. So this is telling us that we have 9 items that need info. So walk the dog needs info, and it needs these different items right here. So if I start entering info like action date, since it doesn't have an action date, due date, say it's today, sub areas, I could give it a sub area of animal care, and it would disappear from the system. Now, like I said, this system is very smart. So if something is actually overdue, it's not going to show up in needs info right away. Even if it does need some info, it's going to show up down here in past due, because this is a bit alarming, right? This is something that you need to focus in on. So it separates the wheat from the chaff. It kind of gives you exactly what you need to see about these tasks. And that's what I like about it. So then once this past due task gets moved back into the future, it gets moved back into the needs info category. So from here, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to fill out all the info for these tasks. And then I'll move on to the next processing tab for resources. Just one quick thing to note, if you come across a task that ended up in your system on accident, you can click the little checkbox on the side to select it, and then you can just delete it. So this new task here is in the system, but it doesn't have anything that I want. So I'm just going to delete it, and that's a good way to get rid of it. Now, on the other hand, if you have a task that you just want to archive, but you want to remember that it got completed on this day or something of that nature, you could mark it as archived and it would also make it disappear from the system. Or you could go ahead and snooze it. So like update payment accounts, I could snooze it and that would disappear it from the process section as well. So snoozing will supersede the processing. And so basically snoozing is something that you can look at when we go to the plan routine. So you can recap on things that are snoozed when you're planning your days. All right, back to the time lapse. Okay, and just like that, we're done with tasks. So now if I want to, I can move on to resources. And resources has a very simple system. It just has a status property right here that says needs review. So in this system, you don't have to do a whole lot unless, say, you don't have a name on this task, for instance. I believe that will trigger it. Even if I mark it as reviewed, it should say needs name. So if you wanted to quick capture a resource and by default, it just didn't have a name, maybe you just added some notes in here and you said, okay, I'm done for now. And then you closed it. Well, in that case, even if it's reviewed, it still needs a name. So definitely go in and add a name and add a name. Now, more commonly, what you're going to see is where you have a name already because you wrote it down. And in that case, you can just read your note and read through it and basically just move it to a sub area if it belongs in a certain sub area, pin it if it matters to you, but you're not required to do a sub area or a pin in this case. The reason that we require a goal for tasks, but not a notebook or a sub area for resources is because resources can be standalone and they can just be pinned on your workspace homepage. And that's the way that I've found to be best to utilize like notes. Whereas tasks, if you can lump them into larger milestones or goals or initiatives, that's the best way to do it. So yes, you can link to any of these sub areas. Like you could link to the scripts notebook, or you could link to the get 100K subscribers on YouTube goal, or the animal care notebook, or the client's notebook or client's goal, whatever it might be. You can link to these if you would like, but you don't have to. You just have to mark it as reviewed once you've looked over it, and you can even pin it really quick if it's something that's really important. If I hit reviewed, now go to my home page, it's going to show up later down the line in our pinned view right here. The next tab in the process routine is sub areas, and sub areas are your notebooks and goals. You can create new types as well. So if you wanted to organize your tasks or your resources, or say you wanted to add a new database to the system and get really adventurous, maybe you want to track book reviews or something like that, you could create a type called book reviews. And from there, you can just basically use that type as a new sub item. You can even duplicate these notebook and goal, and you could add a book review, right? So that's basically how you could set that up if you wanted to. That's a little bit more advanced. By default, we just have notebooks for resources and notes and goals for tasks. Now, why are these in here? So they need a duration. Now, this doesn't mean that they need a timeline yet. They just need a duration setting. For clients, I'm going to mark it as ongoing because this is something that is going to be continuing for a long while. It's not something that's going to get completed right away or that has a set end date per se. And for animal care, that's ongoing as long as I have pets. So there's not like a set end date. Scripts are ongoing. I just want it to be an archive of everything. But this get to 100K subscribers on YouTube, this one is ending. And so it's basically dicing these up into different processing reasons. I can actually hide this, and doesn't necessarily need to even be in here. But now it says area needed. So I need to select an area that scripts goes in. So that's productive dude. Then we have clients and animal care. It needs a type. So I'm going to select a type for these. So clients, that one's going to be a goal, and animal care, that's going to be a goal as well. So one thing that I would recommend is sometimes with your sub areas, it might be a goal, it might be a motivation that you have that's driving this sub area and then drives the tasks underneath it and things like that. As you can see, I didn't enter these with an action oriented title. So what I want to do if I mark it as a goal is I actually want to go in and I actually want to make this action oriented. So I'm just going to say care for clients. Okay, so then I can see how much time I've spent caring for clients. It's not just going to be a catch-all for clients. And then I can open this one up and I can name it take care of animals. So then I can actually see what tasks are related to this and what's getting completed later down the line when I use my reflect routine. As you can see, these ongoing tasks still require an area, but this ending task needs a timeline. So I'll go on to the ending task in a moment, but since these are ongoing, they don't need a timeline. So let's just go ahead and fill out their areas. Care for clients, we'll just put that in career. And this one, we're gonna create a new area for, I'll just call it personal, and boom, now those are gone. And this last one here just needs a simple timeline. So if I go to timeline here, I can set an end date. And this is going to give me a timeline for this goal. So if my start was the beginning of this year, I could just type in Jan 01, 2023. And then for this one here, I could go over to December, pop that in. So this is a goal with a timeline of January 1st to December 31st. It's a 1-year goal of getting to 100 subscribers on YouTube. And as you can see, now that I've added that special timeline here for this ending goal, at this point, I need to add an area. So it says area needed. Let's add an area. This is productive dude, get to 100K subscribers on YouTube. Boom, it's done. So as you can see, we're really chipping away at inbox 0, but there's one more section, areas. Now this one doesn't have anything in it, so it looks like we are at inbox 0. There's nothing that areas needed, so that's good. Now I'm going to head over to the plan view. Now the plan routine is very special. Right now I'm in the week view. You can drag these around, you can set whatever you want as the first one here, but I prefer the week view. It's very easy to just drag things around. It feels like Trello or Google Calendar, and it has all those nice draggability features and things like that. I can click on a task and open it and edit it from here. So that's very nice. So there's a monthly, weekly, and a today view. Now the today view, if I click on today, it'll take me to today. It's going to show me all my tasks that are set for all day. But if I wanted to, I could time block these out here. So right now it's 5:33 p.m. If I wanted to, I could walk the dog for a quick little task, and then I could film this video, and I can basically just drag them into my schedule a little bit easier. So if you really want to get granular with your planning, this is a much quicker way to do it. And you can just estimate out how long of a time these will take. Gonna make sure they're all starting on this day so that they still show up on today. All right, so now this looks pretty good. I've time blocked everything out, and now I can go over to my goals timeline. So the goals timeline is just going to show our goals on a yearly view. So as you can see here, we have our goal of get to 100K subscribers on YouTube. Our ongoing goals do not show up here, but our ending goals do because they're time-based. And these are basically the things that you want to do, the will that you want to impose on the world, right? The ongoing things are more like maintenance things that you just kind of have to do in a sense. But this goals timeline is very useful for seeing how far along you are in terms of the goal. As you can see, this red marker shows me that this goal is almost done, so I better kick it in gear. Let's go back to the week view and then hit open snoozed tasks. If I open snoozed tasks, it brings back that widget that we were talking about earlier with all of these different tasks in it. If I want to plan my week out a little bit better, I can drag these things right back into my calendar. And this works both ways, by the way. So you can actually drag things back into snoozed tasks as well. And whenever you're done with this sort of routine of dragging the tasks in and out, you can close this window and you can always open it again right there. So just another tip to be able to scroll around a little bit better, if you just use your scroll wheel, and it'll basically go up and down. But if you hold shift when you're scrolling, it will go side to side on whatever window you're hovering. So if I'm hovering this database right here, if I select this database, it's in focus, essentially, it will scroll side to side if I'm holding shift. So now, as you can see, these things have elongated into the next day, and our time blocking view that we talked about on today has altered the appearance of all of our other views. Even if I go back here to today's view, you're going to see that these now all have times associated with them, which is very useful. So what we do next is we actually combine those two routines that I just went over, the process and the plan. And every single day, I make it a habit of mine to spend a little bit of time planning and moving things around, weight balancing, and then also processing. And the order is actually process and then plan typically, so that everything is in your calendar where it should be. But if it's not perfect on your calendar, it's at least roughly in the right place. So if you're processing and you don't know what action date to put for something, but you know it's going to be this week, just set it for tomorrow. And then when you go into the plan view, switch to week and then drag things out where they need to be. Next, let's look at the reflect routine. The reflect routine is something that GTD and Para, in my opinion, somewhat lack. So yes, Para has the archive and it should be very searchable still, of course, but the reflect view takes this up a whole nother notch. The reflect page gives you insights on your completed tasks within today, yesterday, past 7 days, past 14 days, and past 28 days. You can click between these views to see what you've completed. And you can also calculate down here. So there's lots of different ways that you can calculate these different rows. If you want to, you can even just calculate and count all, and this will count how many tasks you've completed today. Habits and metrics isn't loaded up in this variation of the template, but if you join the group, you'll see how that works as well. You can customize this with your own habits and metrics that you want to track. And inside of the areas archive, you'll see archived areas or areas that have depreciated from your system over time, and you'll also see archived sub areas. So this will show you any goals or notebooks that have been marked as complete. You can also use a tool like Chartbrick, and I've made videos on this where you can actually add charts to your Notion workspace. So once you start adding a bunch of tasks, habits, metrics, and goals to this system, with Chartbrick, you'll be able to see them on a chart view. So far, we've looked at focusing on the present, processing and planning for the future, reflecting on the past, but the next section is about planning far into the future. This is a section that helps you manage all of your active areas in your life and all of your sub areas. So you'll see ongoing goals here, and you can quickly complete them if they're no longer necessary in your system. You can see ending goals, and once those are completed, you can mark those as complete and they'll disappear. Here you can see notebooks, and you can mark these as complete if you want them to show up in your archived sub areas over on the reflect page. You can also see all active sub areas by switching to this tab right here. The purpose of this video was to give you some insights into how I use GTD and Para within my Notion workspaces. And I hope that you guys can see the parallels that I'm drawing here and how I'm bringing these two techniques together and remixing them into my own unique approach. This is what I recommend you do as well, because not everyone is a one size fits all. But if this system looks like a system that could help you out, then again, I recommend checking out the link in the description, head over to the landing page, read through all the features, see what it's all about, read some testimonials, and if it looks like a good fit for you, apply for that $50 off coupon. Again, we don't do that too often, and I don't know how long I'm gonna leave that up, probably just through Q4, holiday season maybe. But anyways, get $50 off Productive Brain, link below. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment below with your feedback, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest deals that I'm running on the Productive Brain and the latest updates on Notion overall, other productivity softwares. I'm going to be coming out with a lot of content on Midjourney very soon as well. So there's lots of exciting things in the pipeline, and I hope to see you for all of that. All right, here's to being more productive. Stay productive. Have a good one.